man, not gonna lie, I've sat here for like the last 12 minutes trying to come up with an intro, but I can't, so I guess I'll just, turn into an NPC. Hello! My name is Dawit Waldajorgis, and today, with this video essay, I aim to provide brief but lore-relevant information as it pertains to the big 3 lore quests in patch 6.0 of Nod-Krai. These 3 quests are Polkka beneath the Moon's Oracle, East of the Moon, West of the Sun, and finally, Colors of Emptiness. Each of these 3 quests storyline in totality may remain incomplete as of 6.0, and each have lore-packed storylines that will remain relevant throughout future Nod-Krai patches, hence why I believe it's necessary to go over them. The first one is the most lore-packed, and in it, we get an item that was made by the Voyager from afar. Yes, that's right, it's the same person that Nibelung spoke with. Pretty neat, huh? The second one is a thrilling tale of treasure hunting, in which we try to find the founder of the treasure hoarder, Reed Miller's greatest treasure, and to do so, we in part have to break into a Fatui research facility with his biggest fan. Whilst the final one is my favorite because, I'm not joking, it's a cosmic horror story that may have even sent us to the lunar palace the Moon Sisters once resided in. And for those that think I'm joking about the cosmic horror part, the name of the final quest is quite literally Colors Out of Space, which is no doubt a reference, I say no doubt, it is a reference to the god of cosmic horror, H.P. Lovecraft's short story, The Color Out of Space. Let's start with Polkka beneath the Moon's Oracle. This quest sees you assist a high priestess named Verna in dealing with a Kuvaki disturbance caused by 2 rocks near Thunderclap Reef. While helping, a mysterious lady appears in a moon mirror calling us the hero of Elysium while introducing herself as the mother to all and daughter to all. We question who she is, but she doesn't answer. She then walks off to another mirror, and upon catching up to her, she speaks about some odd things, such as waiting for the birth of a god, and speaks about how this god will drape the world in joy before addressing someone named Via about how there's no place for her now that a god has been born. She then heads off again, telling us we can find her at the court of the First Edict, which leaves Verna stunned. We then fix the disturbance, which sends 2 rocks to join the much bigger rock north of the Frost Moon encampment. Verna tells us the court of the First Edict is actually over in the direction the rocks went. That reminds us the lady from earlier stated that's where she was going, which Verna scoffs at, because the court of the First Edict was sealed off 500 years ago by then Moonchanter Alia, and since then, no one has ever managed to break the seal. We then help a little girl with something about friendship or some shit, I don't know. The end result is another small rock joins the big rock. We then help a fisher about, I don't know, like fishing or some shit, I don't know. The end result is another small rock joins the big rock. We then help a small boy fight a king crab or some shit, I don't know. The end result is another small rock joins the big rock. But this time, the mysterious lady from before again appears in a mirror, and when we ask what she's doing here, she tells us she's guiding the ruler of Elysium, as that's our mission in the sublunary sphere. She continues speaking in an odd manner, almost as if she's speaking to someone else. She then pieces out. We then meet up with Verna again, who decides it's imperative we break the seal on the court of the First Edict to catch the mysterious lady. So we throw another small rock at the big one, and this time it sparks a reaction that throws the whole island on alert. We make our way up the big rock and enter a strange space that leaves even Verna confused as to where we are. As we unlock the seal of the court of the First Edict, a voice recognizes us as the first Pyro sovereign, Xiaquahuatl. Now my best guess as to why this happened is likely due to us once having possession of the Golden Entreaties, which were quite literally just the eye of Xiaquahuatl. This, coupled with the fact that Xiaquahuatl once visited the Moon Sisters, does give him some familiarity within the system. Anyway, upon lifting the seal, we enter the court of the First Edict and spots the Verdant Crest, which is the sacred tree that witnessed Columbina's birth. In a pool of water beneath the crest, we spot a sword underwater that Verna tells us was forged from Hyperborean moonlight and left behind by Alia, and with this sword, the very first drop of blood was spilt under the new moon. A Kuhenki then appears, and we follow it to the top of the court, and it's revealed the lady from before is actually the first Moonchanter, Alia herself. We're witnessing a residual of her from nearly 500 years ago, so she can't see nor hear us, in theory. Lady Alia is speaking with someone else about recording a message for the future heroes who will see her words before looking at us. The other voice then speaks about Lavia, which, if you remember before, When Alia addressed Avia, Lavia is the full name. Lavia was Alia and her twin sister Alia. That's right, they had the same fucking name. She was their grandmother. She was once the leader of the Frostmoon Scions and had long been awaiting the birth of the chosen one destined to reign over Elysium. When that person was eventually born, she met an officer from Snezhnaya, fell in love with him, and chose to turn her back on becoming the chosen one of the Frostmoon Scions. This caused either the mad monk Rotwang or Levia to send a spy after them, who then killed the officer, which caused the girl to take her own life. Levia was enraged by this sequence of events, as it took nearly 1,000 years for this chosen girl to be born, only for it to end like this. And given it could very well take hundreds of more years for another suitable chosen one to be born, Levia took matters into her own hands and committed an act of blasphemy so horrendous it caused her name to be banned from the Frostmoon Scions. While the details of what she did are sparse, it said Levia collaborated with outsiders to bring harm to a great number of people. Levia would then be killed by Alia. Alia standing before us. I'd imagine the outsider mentioned is Rotwang, given later Alia states Levia had contact with Rotwang. And for those unaware, Rotwang the Mad Monk was, or is, a researcher from Conria who was expelled from the Universitas Magistrorum for being obsessed with the Abyss. He found his way to Snezhnaya and by virtue Nod-Krai while working under the Belgi Sar. In any case, Alia addresses the person she's speaking to as Mr. Solove, who was a noble from Snezhnaya and original founder of the Lightkeepers. Alia says she must uncover the Mad Monk's true plan because he's hurt far too many people, and it's here she says Levia secretly had contact with Rotwang. Alia then speaks about a serpent falling before stating she'll be here waiting for the hero meant to protect Elysium. She then turns to us and just fucking speaks to us. She says she left for us a sword forged by the Apostle of the Golden City. Folks, this should be the Voyager from afar, before stating our fate to her is unclear, but she then says, she believes that we're the heroes of this sublunary sphere and the ones destined to fell the undying serpent. Alia then leaves and we question what this undying serpent is before heading to retrieve the sword. However, a letter for Alia's sister, who again was named Alia, written by Solove, does detail some interesting stuff. Alia, the twin sister Alia, sacrificed herself to defeat Rotwang. However, they foresee Rotwang rising again from the Abyss. Anyway, we then grab the sword and leave, but after the quest learned that the serpent Alia wanted us to slay was just the Abyss. The next quest, East of the Moon, West of the Sun, is pretty straightforward. The legendary thief Reed Miller, founder of the Treasure Hoarders, is said to have a great treasure hidden somewhere. To unlock it, one needs 5 proofs of the cognoscenti, I guess is how you say it. By the end of the quest line, we have 3. Yeah, that's kind of it. We get one from this one dude after completing a story, steal another from the Fatui research facility with this girl, and get the third when we did some, underground magic. Quests were fun. Enjoyed the Fatui one. Good girl. Anyway, the third quest. The entire storyline is detailed through the writings of an officer named Piotr, and it's actually it's a horror story, if you can believe it, so, it might not be October yet, but let's do it. The story goes something like this. Pyotr Dmitri of Orlov and his company had been dispatched to the remote, frozen mountains of Nod-Krai to serve the Tsaritsa. At first, the isolation was merely tedious. The air smelled of pine and frost, the wind howled through the jagged peaks, and the days stretched long and empty. 2 professors had joined them, Professor Karnatsky and Professor Briobensky, the latter of Fey, and their constant bickering filled every idle hour with bitterness. Each sought to unlock the secrets of the moon fragments and claim the Tsaritsa's favor. As the days passed, their arguments grew sharper, more personal, until every conversation felt like a duel with words. Elena, a spirited and reckless member of the company hailing from Moorspoke, would often vanish into the forest to hunt. She would return with goats that fed the camp, despite Captain Voklov's repeated warnings that her actions were derelictions of duty. Yet all the same, the meat was fresh, the taste a small pleasure, and an otherwise monotonous existence. But the monotony soon gave way to unease. One night, a company member, Petrenko, swore he heard a scream that tore through the stillness, a sound neither fully human nor beastly, a wail somewhere between death and despair. No one else had heard it, not even Elena, who had been on watch, yet the ground outside the camp bore strange, dragging marks, as though a corpse had been hauled through the soil. Captain Voklov, suspecting some trick by the Fey professor, ordered the robots activated, and traps laid to guard against whatever haunted the night. Meanwhile, Karnatsky's research progressed until one day, the professor approached Piotr, his face flushed and contorted into a smile that barely seemed human. He stated he had just extracted the purest primal light from the moon fragment, and with it will tear open the veil of the world to ignite the first spark of the Tsaritsa's rebellion. The words themselves made little sense to Piotr, but the intent behind them radiated something unnatural, something malignant. As days passed, the colds within the camp deepened unnaturally. Frost formed on the tents even in the midday sun, and a sour, decaying odor of death and decay began to seep into the air. To get away from it all, Piotr decided to hunt. The forest, once teeming with goats, had fallen silent, almost as if they were hiding from something. He wandered far from camp, the snow crunching beneath his boots, until he finally came upon one of the animals. It was unlike any goat he had ever seen. It stood upright, frozen, staring into the distance, its grotesque face twisted into an expression that seemed both horrified and mocking. Its eyes bulged, cloudy, and pointing in opposite directions, yet it remained alive, utterly unmoving, heart pounding. Piotr raised his blade and plunged it into the creature's chest. The goat did not flinch, even as blood sprayed. It remained transfixed, staring into some unseen void, as if, from whatever it had seen, not even death could grant it peace. Piotr told no one of what he had seen. The goat, once cooked, was as delicious as ever. Then comes the final entry of Piotr. Piotr states all his comrades are dead. The professor's experiments had birthed the catastrophe he called the color. It had consumed everything, soldiers, researchers, the camp itself. The color came from those rocks that fell from the sky, the moon fragments. The professors had awakened it with their reckless ambition, and it killed everyone. The diary ends in a frantic, broken plea for survival, his handwriting dissolving into terror. Quote, "They are coming. Save me. They are coming. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die." So anyway, the quest quite literally has us follow the color fragments, which the researchers unleashed onto this world. They're chill with us, though, because you know, big dick energy and that. We follow the two lights until they merge into one, they devour us, and we are then transported to an unknown area. Rocks floating, purple everywhere, structures abound. Before we leave, we then tell Paimon what we saw, but she doesn't believe us or just says, that's nowhere I've ever heard of. Now, what is this place? Who knows? I'd like to think it's the now destroyed Lunar Palace the Moon Sisters once resided in, but I've nothing to back that claim up. I mean, we visit either the same place or a really similar place again in another, like, side quest, but we don't gain any insight into what this place is, so, you know. Listen to your heart, my friends. That's what this place is.